Welcome to Caravan Podcast. Caravan Week offers a series of daily podcasts from the 3rd to the 7th of November with youth and social circus leaders from Serbia, Palestine, Lebanon and Russia. How do youth and social circus organisations use circus as a tool for resilience in the face of these global challenges? That's what we're here to discover. Thanks for tuning in and we hope you enjoy.
Today, we're welcoming Mohamad Rabah, Executive Director of the Palestinian Circus School in Ramallah, Palestine. The Palestinian Circus School is a non-governmental, non-profit organization established in 2006. The school engages in a dynamic cultural and artistic life that embraces creativity, freedom of expression, and diversity for a just and inclusive society. By teaching, creating, performing, and programming circus arts, the school strengthens the creative, social, and physical potential of young Palestinians, seeking to engage them to become constructive actors in society. Rabah, thank you for being here today, and welcome to Caravan Week 2025.
Thank you, Adrian, for inviting me. It's a great honor to be part of this podcast.
Thank you, Rabah. Perhaps we can start with an introduction of yourself, who you are personally behind the organization.
I'm a Palestinian. I was not born in Palestine. I was born in Jordan in 1986. Now I'm a father of two boys. One is 5. Ryan is 3 years. And having children is a bliss, so because you reflect a lot about your childhood and how you grow, and also for your children, you try to be a good father and try to provide for your children the things that you were not allowed to or you were deprived from. I was born in Jordan because my father had to go to work in Jordan in that time in the 80s. Because at that time, Palestine was under full occupation. There was no Palestinian Authority at that time. Israel was controlling all aspects of Palestinian life. There was no governmental Palestinian institutions. The Israeli occupation was controlling the main basic services for the Palestinian citizens in the occupied Palestinian territories. So many people like my father had to leave to work to provide for their families in other countries. Yeah, and then my father was offered a job in Abu Dhabi as an English teacher there. So he had to travel again. Me and my sisters and my mother had to come and live in Palestine, my village, which is a beautiful village. And that was like the dream of my childhood, to live in that village with the mountains and the trees, the olive trees and everything around it, and the water wells and springs around that village. And as a child, I loved it very much to be at that village. There was not that much settlements at that time. That was in the 1990s. I remember the olive harvests. Me and the family, we will go and camp in the mountains for a week as a 4 or 5 years old. And we felt safe at that time to do so. I remember having a small goat with my grandmother. I will go every day to the mountain to feed the goats. In 1993, we moved all of us to Abu Dhabi to live there. And, I lived there 9 years of my childhood until the second intifada. I have to go back again to my time in Palestine. I forgot an important story. When I came here as a child, 4 to 7 years old, 3 years, it was the first intifada Palestine. And that was the first intifada because it was the first time all the Palestinians living inside the occupied Palestinian territory are having a popular uprising. Everyone was participating in it. Young people, old people, women, children even. And even the name of it, the worldwide name of it is the Intifada of Stones, the uprising of stones, because the only weapon that was available for the Palestinian at that time, the stones, and they used to throw the stones on the Israeli jeep militaries that were invading the cities and the villages every day. And I remember seeing that as a child. And I remember that I had to one day to visit one of my relatives in the prison who was kidnapped by the Israeli occupation for a while. So all that shaped my connection with Palestine. But also when I moved to Abu Dhabi, I felt as a child that this is not my country. This is not where I belong. So I lived there for 9 years as as a child. And every summer we come here, it felt heaven for me. Not only because I'm Palestinian and I love Palestine, but it felt that there is a cause that connect me here. I feel also equal with other Palestinians. While in Abu Dhabi, it feels like there is a kind of racism. If you are a national citizen, it's different than you are a resident. And as a child, for example, there was a youth center in front of my house. I was not allowed to be a member in that youth center, in the children's center, because I'm not a citizen. And that taught me what social exclusion means. In the football team of the school, I was not allowed to be part of it because I'm not a national citizen of that country. And so on. So you live in a country and you don't feel that you have full access as a child, while you find your class have full access to more services. That kind of exclusion shaped a lot of my thinking that I don't want to stay here. I don't want, as a child, to be in a place where I'm not treated as my peers. So when the second Intifada started, after the peace negotiation of Oslo Accord, the second phase failed, that was the moment where I was watching the TV from there and seeing my home country is under a lot of oppression and military aggression. And I was a teenager at that time, 14 years old. And all I thought about that I want to be there. So I convinced my parents to come back and live in the village with my grandmother during the Intifada. And that was also a big, I think it was the most critical moment in my life, and that shaped a lot of who I am today, because I have to reflect about many things, about who I am, what I believe in, being independent as a teenager, having the space to take decision on myself completely. It was not only about the occupation, but also to reflect about how you were raised as a male in a masculine community where you have a lot of privilege, about your belief in religion and everything in the system. So I took the decision at that time to drop everything that I believed in, or I was convinced to believe in, and to create my new belief system and my new value system based on what I need to experiment and try, and that requires a lot of things. But reflecting on that, the most important thing that I was allowed to take that moment because of the situation I was in as a teenager, being here in Palestine, seeing all the injustice that I lived in as a child in Abu Dhabi, and reflecting on all this. And at that time, it was the booming time for the internet, so you have access for more information, so you can read and so on. And that takes me to now, and that's the definition of safe spaces. The safe space that is not physical, it's more mental and emotional, to allow young people and children, especially teenagers, to think freely without any sort of controlling or judgment or social punishment because of an idea that they have, or because of a belief that they, even if it's temporary, that they thought about, or a small discussion, or a circus act that they wish to send a message with to the community. That's shaped for me the deep belief on what safe spaces we need. I finished my high school. I went to Birzeit University. I studied first IT, but then I switched to mechanical engineering. I was good with studies. During my time at the university, it was very interesting. Birzeit University has a lot of history as a place where social, political leaders of the Palestinian society are emerging from there. In 2004, my first year at school, Yasser Arafat was assassinated in 2004, and he's the most known leader for the Palestinian people along the recent histories. And it was a big moment, and we had lack of leadership after him in the Palestinian political sphere. And after that, there was the elections for the parliament and the presidents for the Palestinian Authority, and that was the only election that I was participating in. Since then, it's 20 years now. We had no elections for 20 years. That's another space where a lot of young people and children in Palestine are deprived from participation in political life. Whatever spaces for civic participation you have, if that will not lead to contribution in a system where accountability can happen, or your voice should be heard, that's very bad for the whole community. And you are creating a generation of young people that don't practice change or or at least trial for changes. And living with that for 20 years was not easy, not for me, not for the whole Palestinian community, but especially young people who are always full of energy, full of ideas, and they have time and they wish to contribute to make their society better. The other critical moment that I witnessed was after the election. Hamas won the election in 2006, the parliament, so we had the majority Hamas government, and then the world decided to boycott that government. So the Palestinian, it was the democracy that we did led to that decision that Hamas won the election, but then the world, they didn't want to deal with that government. So that led to an internal conflict that led that Hamas took over by military coup over Gaza. And the consequences that we are seeing now today, it started from there, from the world boycotting the democratic election of the Palestinian decision of the Palestinian society. And maybe this is not said in the media now, but back then, if the world didn't boycott that government, we wouldn't reach what that. We would have an election after 4 years. Maybe the people will change the polls, and that happened everywhere, not only in Palestine. And the peace process stopped after that because after the second Intifada and all the destruction that happened, the Palestinian president, Mohamad Rabah, who believe in popular resistance, who believe in negotiation, peaceful negotiation, and to put the armed resistance aside because we are building institutions, a state, we have democracy. We don't want to have any armed conflict anymore. And the second Intifada was full of destruction. And with that project came a lot of organizations. In 2006, the Palestinian Circus School was found because it was a moment after the second Intifada where full destruction happened. So a lot of people like the founders of the Palestinian Circus School, Shadi and Jessica and Fadi and Mais and many others, decided that we want to build our society again, and circus is a beautiful tool to do that. And at the same time, many other organizations like Al-Kamanjati, for example, for music was established. And if you go to the registration date for many organizations, you will find 2006 to 2008 with many organizations, especially working with youth and children, were registered at that time. And at that time, while I was studying mechanical engineering, my mind was somewhere else, was in youth movements and social movement, political participation, and so on. So I was active in the student movement at the university, and I was active in the civil society with organizing summer camps, for example, and taking courses and about human rights and so on. So when I graduated, I was not really happy to work as a mechanical engineer. And I was lucky that I could find a career path working with different projects related to working directly with young people, which is my passion, and children. So I decided that at that time that I wish to be a youth worker, someone who is working with youth and children and designing programs for them. Until now, I am not a circus artist, but yeah, I was part of many initiatives related to that. And many of these projects were funded by Youth in Action at that time and Euromed Youth Program. With the Germans, also I worked in different projects. With the Nordic countries, I was also working in a project related to role-playing games. So we started a community for role-playing games in Palestine and board games and so on. And started to design my own games also, taking issues from the Palestinian society and reflecting it, making a role-playing game. And 2015, I was lucky to have my master's degree in the UK in community and youth work at Durham University. I got the scholarship. I was trying for several years because I wanted some academic also background in the field that I chose to work in. And after I came back from the UK, I continued to work on the role-playing community. So we established the organization for it, and I was volunteering as a director for the organization. And that was the moment where I started to have more influence, let's say, things I believe in about safe spaces, youth participation, and so on. 2018, I started my journey with the circus.
Thank you, Rabah. There could have been many ways, many tools you could have employed with the goal to create safe spaces. How and why did you choose circus?
I was hearing about the Palestinian Circus School since I was at the university because some of my friends or people I know were engaged with the project foundation, but I never witnessed any of their shows. When I was working at the Euromed Youth Program, I met them. But in 2017, the conversation started as the founders of the Palestinian Circus, especially Shadi and Jessica, they decided to leave their position and they were looking for to hand over the management and the leadership of the organization to someone else. And they were looking in the community for someone. A friend of mine contacted me and she said, hey, you will be perfect for this job. Would you be interested to apply? The first thing I said, no. I had no experience in circus. I don't know what to do there. I know what I do in other projects, but with the circus, I have no clue. And then 6 months later, the same friend, she contacted me again. Hey, I know you refused the first time, but could you at least give it a try for the interview? I said, okay, I will, I will do that. And I came to the interview. And at that moment, I took the decision that this is something I want to be part of. Shadi and Jessica and the people who were interviewing me explained how they work, the values they share, the team, the foundation, the aims and everything, the project. And I found myself in every word they said. After the interview, I called Shadi. So usually I should wait for him to call me. I called him and I told him, listen, I don't know what do you think about me, but I really want to be part of this project. And the decision is yours, but if I can convince you more. And then I met personally with Shadi and we discussed for hours and it was amazing that they accepted me.
The idea that usually people have about circus, it's not a serious discipline used as a slang to say, oh, what a circus, to say that the situation is chaotic or doesn't make sense. If you were not yourself already infused in the potential of circus culture, what is it that convinced you in that moment?
First thing is the concept of circus for all. For me, this is a big word and it comes with a lot of commitment and a lot of hard work to make circus for all. That was said to me, and circus for all, I cannot do circus myself. But then you understand it's circus for all is not that everyone should be an artist, but to the playfulness that everyone is allowed to participate. We are open to everyone and we are accessible to everyone, and we do our best to be accessible. And we don't wait people to come to us. We also go to people. We build our castle and we close the doors and we give the keys for these doors to specific people. For me, that was like something, taking my history with being not allowed to enter the youth center in front of my house in Abu Dhabi, or living in a village where there were no services, such services at all. That also like shaped that this is an open for everyone, and having Palestine in its name means also another commitment that you work for all the Palestinian. You have the mandate to work for all the Palestinian, regardless of their age, religion, economic situation, and so on. And this reflects in every decision that is taken in the organization since the foundation, how to make this big slogan work. And you need to reflect about it almost in every decision you make every day. Not easy. It comes with a lot of risk and a lot of planning and hard work and worries and so on. But I believe this is the key word for what we do. The other thing is you see the impact on the people. It's a journey, a beautiful journey to be in such a community, and you build this bonding between the people that goes beyond words and beyond any forms of expression. You come play together in a way that is very inclusive, and then by time you break many barriers inside yourself, also with others. And this formation coming from yourself and reflecting about who you are and what potential you have, and then reflecting with others about very sensitive topics or values of, for example, trust. What does it mean to trust other person? What does it mean to trust myself, if I'm able to do this or not? Such thing, you go deeply. How should I tolerate you after you didn't catch me from this trick? And then you learn this by doing and by experiment, that these things are learned by doing, and you take this journey together also as a group, and you start also to take it to participate in public life, whether it is in your local community issues or global issues. And it's not getting better in the context that we live in, taking into consideration 2 years of genocide, Palestinian people in Gaza, but also in West Bank. It's a slow genocide, but it's also it's a war on everything that is Palestinian, a war on our culture, a war on our existence in every meaning, and they want to take that from us. You always put yourself in the shoe of the people you wish to work with. So to put your shoe on a 15 years old young person living in a refugee camp, that refugee camp was built after the forced displacement of the Palestinian people. So probably his grandfather or grand-grandfather of that young boy today. And he's still living in that camp with all the narrative and all the pain and the generational traumas that he carried from his grandfather to today. And he looks at the TV and sees the Israeli occupation bombing and killing more than 100,000 people in Gaza, and all the 80% destruction of Gaza, destruction of Tulkarem, which is a city in the West Bank, destruction of Jenin, which is a city in the West Bank, all the checkpoints, more than 1,000 checkpoints, closing every city, every village in the West Bank, arrest without any charges, administrative arrest, killing everyone. Like just this morning, the neighbor of my mother, her mother was killed by the Israeli soldiers this morning. So you hear hundreds of stories on a daily basis of such pain and anger. As a 15 years old living in that refugee camp, which was supposed to be temporary because you have the right to return to Jaffa, to Haifa, to Nazareth. That's your hometown that you were forced, your grandfather was forced to, and you believe you should go back there. And you see all this injustice, you will be full of anger and you will feel betrayed by the world, the whole world, and you will feel lonely. You will feel you need to do something. You will feel that your life worth nothing. And this is the most dangerous thing, to have to deal with all these things alone. And here what we try to do is that we need to reach to these young people and tell them you are not alone, and let's do something positive out of this anger, but not alone, together. To put people in this process where they can feel connected, feel controlling about their bodies, about their emotions, at least reflecting about these emotions, and also find others who share with them and connect with these others. At least this is an important step for transformation of emotions. At least I would not say healing, because healing is a big word, and with the daily aggression you cannot really heal. If you take the decision to make something, it will be more rational actions and your safety will be considered. If we are not there, I mean the circus, but at least other organizations like us who are there looking for these young people and working with them directly, they will be left to other forces in the community, radical forces it can be, or any other thoughts of leaving the country, or all the options are there, and that's horrible for a 15-year-old to take such decisions alone. It's really hard to make people talk about these feelings, and we as a community, I don't know what to call it, but since especially the last 2 years, we aren't able to speak about our pain.
You create those spaces to be together, to understand that these processing feelings can mainly happen when you're together, when you have a space together.
Yeah, but the type of oppression is huge. Like this year, we did circus sessions for almost 3,500 children. Before the 7th of October, with our annual programming, we wanted to aim for 500. That's 700 times our capacity, because we feel that the demand is so huge and we need to do more. And at the same time, we were doing maybe 30 local shows per year or 40. Now we are aiming to do 100 in 2025. So you feel the pressure on yourself as an organization and as a Palestinian that you need to help. We need to help each other, but also we need help because it's not stopping. The aggression, the occupation is not stopping, and it's happening every second. So you feel that you are running against the time and against everything, and that's heavy. And you deal with death and existence. So we as together, if I sit, for example, with my wife, deep inside us, we talk about things like the news. You see this and this and this, but we try to avoid talking about our feeling, how we feel about this information or what's happening around us. And that's the dangerous thing, that you get normalize yourself with the situation and you bury down these feelings.
So because circus is physical, brings you back to the body keeps the score, as we say it. It's also a way not to alienate yourself. And the fact that you said that the demand really increased in the last 2 years also shows the impact that the Palestinian Circus School is having on the local community.
Yes.
Now, what kind of help are you getting to respond to that demand, and what kind of help would you like to get or would you need to get?
One important interventions that we did this year and were very helpful is connection with the world and connection with each other. Connection with each other is more difficult because of the checkpoints, and it's an ability to plan. Like you planned things, but in our situation, like for the last 2 years, it was like we use the planning week by week and month by month. We cannot plan. When I came to Caravan General Assembly meeting last year in Barcelona, I made a call for all the partners that we want to do international projects for the young people we work with. And the response was fantastic. We received invitation to participate in 2. We did 4 youth exchanges, but 2 were from Caravan members, Switzerland with Ton Circus, and also in Finland with Soren Circus in Tampere. These with other youth exchanges that were planned in Germany with Bremen, and also in South Africa. We managed to send many young people and children to these youth exchanges, and also we cannot host this with the current risky situation to host people from abroad. So this kind of projects is very, very important because it gives us solidarity. And for the young people, they feel they are fighting the isolation that the occupation is trying to put in them. And it also contributes, I believe, that it gives different perspective of life. You go out from all the stress that you're having. You go out, you meet other people, you share your story. You are also curious to know about what other people goes and face in their countries and their communities. It's a different level of oppression, but they also have to face challenges and oppressions in different ways. Doesn't have to be military, it can be also emotional and so on. And then they do share the language of circus together. Sometimes they don't speak English as a common language, but you find these young people fascinated with going to Finland and joining other young people of the same age. And this had a huge impact, and I wish we can do more and continue to doing it. The local level, we want support to reach more young people. Not only us, we are also part of the Performing Art Network Palestine, which has organization working music, theater, circus, and dance. At that network, we had the vision that we wish to reach at least 500,000 children and youth in the coming years with performing art, and we circus wish to do so. To do that, we wish to build the capacity of more trainers and artists, and these trainers and artists can reach more and meet the demand, because we believe it's very important that we create this safe space for everyone. We wish to have a new circus tent that will be mobile next year. And with that mobile circus tent, the idea that we go to communities who are not able to come to us and give them the magic of circus and social circus. So we go to a community, for example, in the north of West Bank. We put the tent there for 3 months and we do training of trainers and circus sessions for children and for children with disabilities, circus sessions for women and girls. We do performances. We invite artists also to come, and so like that, we break the isolation that the occupation is trying to put on us. Yeah, so it's a lot of things to support with, and yeah, anything can contribute to this vision. I would call it a vision because it's a big numbers. Sometimes it's a European Solidarity Corps project that can send us a volunteer who can help us, or we send a volunteer for 1 year, for example, and then they come back and contribute with their experience. So it's small drops here and there can help to build the ocean.
So capacity building and breaking isolation, those are the main pillars.
The isolation internally and externally.
Yeah.
Like even in Gaza, we supported the circus people in Gaza. There are 4 informal circus groups in Gaza, and also a hub for circus and yoga for women in Gaza that during the war we kept supporting. And thanks to many members of Caravan who donated to this to keep the circus alive in Gaza. Like this year, we managed to do 5 sessions for a group of 20 children for 2,000 children in Gaza. That's a huge number, but at the same time, it was very important for the circus artists and trainers in Gaza that they found the support, that it's not a humanitarian assistant, it is their mission that they want to do such training in the time of genocide and to provide something for the children other than food, and which was everyone was deprived and starved from.
Thank you so much, Rabah, for sharing your story to the wider audience, because there is a lot of willingness to support Palestine in Western Europe, and also especially in Belgium and in Brussels. And the more we know and learn what is it that we can do, even if it's sending a volunteer or receiving a volunteer, the most likely it may happen. So it's very, very important that we open this communication.
Yeah, the circus community needs you. Like, I know the circus in Nablus Circus School, which is a member of Caravan. They also need support. The circus people in Gaza, they need support. There's also circus community in Jerusalem. We have an active fundraising campaign on global giving. We are trying to collect $50,000 to do 50 circus shows for our new production, the Wonderland, next year. So if anyone wants to support us or support any circus people in Palestine or performing art also, for the network, I'm the chairperson also for the Palestinian Performing Art Network, representing the Palestinian Circus School. So also I'll be happy to facilitate.
Yes, we will share the link to the donation to the Wonderland show. Maybe one last thing concerning your productions is your show Sarab that is coming for a Belgian tour this month.
Yes.
Would you like to say a few words about it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so also another way to support our art and support us is we try to come to festivals also in Europe. Now our artists with our show Sarab is a production by the Palestinian Circus School since 2017, still active, but with a new group of artists. So we changed the whole cast last year. The story of the production is about showing the journey and the suffering of refugees. So it highlights not only in Palestine but worldwide the suffering of the refugees and the oppression against them and so on, especially refugees because of war who are forced to leave their homelands. First show in Belgium was yesterday. And we will be in Belgium touring in different places. I think we have 15 shows in Belgium this month until the 30th of November. We can also share the schedule of the show. Please, it's a way to support us and see the beautiful work of our young artists. Before that they were in Ireland. We have another group who are in Circa and also in a festival in Palermo. So we try to engage with the international circus community and the audience in many places to highlight our stories as Palestinian and also to a way to communicate and break the isolation.
Thank you very much. We didn't tackle directly the theme of resilience throughout this podcast because it was just overarching. It was just impossible to separate from the Palestinian Circus School and your story.
No, but maybe if a closing thing about, I said in the beginning that I have 2 kids. As a parent, it's very difficult to raise kids in this situation. And when I was a kid going to the mountains with my grandmother, now I'm not able to do that with my kids because the mountain was taken by the settlements and the settlers. And that happened in every village, in every city in Palestine. We live in a war where also new technologies are used. So drones speaking to you can happen if you go to hike in a mountain. Facial recognition for you and take a decision to shoot you or tell you to leave the area. It's about hope for the future, that ending the occupation is the only way to keep hope for Palestinians. So what I had 30 years ago, even if it was so bad back then, now for my children, it's much, much worse.
30 years ago, they didn't have you and they didn't have the Palestinian Circus School.
Yeah, but now it's a complete mentality of trying to end the Palestinian existence. And it's not a political statement, it is the reality on the ground. 30 years ago, there was negotiation. The international community was, especially Europe, was more active. A peace process, let's say. Yeah, what's happening in Palestine is a shame for the international human rights law and accountability toward that law. Not us as Palestinian, but toward the law itself and the commitment of all the countries toward that. So now we feel that, the people are with us, but the governments have failed us, and many of them are complicit on what's happening on the ground.
The importance of supporting Palestinian culture is extremely relevant because, as you put, 30 years ago, there was no genocide intention. There was no erasing a culture intention, which is the case today. So we have a duty not of memory because it's not too late, but we most probably have a duty of enhancing your voices and amplifying your voices and giving a space to your voice. So
it has to stop, and every effort to stop what's happening in Palestine is important, but also to make who's behind it accountable and who's complicit with it as accountable is the need for it. Otherwise, they will go away with their crimes and will do other crimes. We are not asking for extra thing. We are just asking the application of the human rights conventions that everyone agreed to use after the Second World War. So that's the main thing. And politicians need to know in every country that if they don't take an action, they are complicit. And this requires pressure from everyone over their politicians. Otherwise, it will be too late. It is too late already. In Gaza, it is too late. 2 years passed and the world was watching, and now they trying to run away with everything with a fake peace plan that is not going to happen, and it's just a way to exit all the genocide that they did and all the crimes that they did. So they need to be accountable. But I don't want this to be a political call. But for example, I'm going next week to Barcelona, and there we have a lot of cultural organizations and artists organizing a big campaign called Act Palestine that will fundraise for the Palestinian non-profit organization, including the Performing Art Network and organization, human rights organization, and humanitarian aid to Gaza. The main aim also for the campaign is to use art and different tools as a tool for boycott, to call the government and politicians for boycott and accountability over the crimes that were anyone who was complicit in the crimes against the Palestinian people. So similar actions is also required in every country.
We will share that as well. And we also invite everyone in our audience to spread the word and also share these important actions with their network. Rabah, thank you a million times for your courage, for your presence, for your honesty, and this beautiful vulnerability.
Thank you. Thank you, Adriana. And thank you to Caravan for doing this.
Thank you, Rabah. Thank you, the Palestinian Circus School. We are going to wrap up this 4th episode of Caravan Week 2025. And we can only invite you to support Rabah and Palestine and the Palestinian Circus School. Thank you very much.